And then that's when he showed me Pinks, and I was like, oh, whoa, okay, this is sweet in so many ways.
And is that where you really started thinking franchising over, an independent business?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, 100%. Because we had had a conversation about it, as franchising as a concept, because some of the founders over at CLT Impact got a few family offices, individuals who've done a lot in private equity, built portfolios, and had these networks, and they just had friends who like had these massive portfolios of like franchise businesses, and up until working with them, I did not realize, I guess you could kind of assume, but I did not realize kind of how prevalent it was and just how you could really build something meaningful that way. And so after hearing that, I became much more open to the franchise concepts. And I was like, okay, well let's take a look, because building a brand is really hard. I feel like if you can give me a playbook, you can give me a system, and I can, try to add value in any way I can, and bring it to a marketplace. Like, I'd much rather do that than have to create a brand new brand from scratch. Like, that's just years of runway, that you kind of eliminate with a franchise concept. Even though you may not start with revenue day one, but you start with a lot. And being 6 months in, it can make a lot of sense for you.
I think people take for granted like how much of that, even though some of it might be small, adds up, like figuring out opening the bank account, what's the right business credit card, having to design a logo, having to design a website, having to put a marketing plan together, which channels work, testing all those channels.
Yeah.
It's like all these, like in isolation, any one of them, like you and I could figure out and probably go do on our own. But when you add 100 of those things, like you said, it saves you a year, 2 years, maybe 3 years plus of time. And I was talking to another franchisee the other day, and they're like, that the franchisor did a lot of work when a lot of you getting up and running, there's parts that feel easy, because none of this should be easy. It's all hard, right? Like building it from the ground up is hard, but when there's parts that feel easy, like that's the part you're paying for. Like that's the part where, the royalties get to work, and, being a franchisee comes into play. But other people could easily look at that and be like, this was easy. Why didn't I do it myself? It's like, it was easy because of all the hard work that went in before to make it feel easy.
Exactly. And I get that question so much. Like, people are always like, well, why don't you just do it yourself? Why don't you I mean, like, you're smart, or you're doing this. Like, why don't you just do it yourself? And I'm like, man, I just would rather not spend the time like developing and like figuring out this playbook and trying to iterate and solve, like, to have.
I want to go own, operate and execute.
Exactly. Exactly. And it's just, with the right system and like the right franchisor, like it's a really good opportunity that I don't think is being talked about as much, kind of in the wave of, the silver tsunami talk and
Hmm.
small businesses, because I think there's a bit of oversimplification with that process as well. So,
Yeah, I tell people I think franchising is like the quiet backbone of America. It's 8% of the country's GDP. You look at success rates of franchises versus independent, and the 5-year success rate is 85% for franchising, but it's like 48% for independent businesses.
yeah.
So it's like almost double, if you go with a franchise. And again, I think franchising gets a bad rep sometimes. I used to honestly think negatively of it until I got into the world, and I was like, wait a minute, there's way more than just McDonald's and Subway. There's window cleaning, there's kids fitness franchises, there's early childhood development franchises, there's home services, entertainment. I mean, it really touches everything. And so it's cool to hear your story of like, hey, we were looking for basically entrepreneurship through acquisition opportunity, and found your way into franchising. Then you find Pink's through that broker, right, or that consultant. Did you look at other brands, or was it like once you saw Pink's, you're like, this is it?
I
This
looked at
is
a couple, but it was like, it closed the door fast. It was just kind of one of those things, like, I tend to, it's so funny because I lean into like due diligence and like just tactically, what do I want to look for in something? It was something intuitive about Pinks when it came to me, how it came. And then when I just looked at it, like, it was just, I really got it. And it was funny because that was, before Cody Sanchez had invested in it, and kind of this like super hype came around it. But it was a really small gap. But when I saw it, I was like, this is absolutely a business that could transform an industry. will transform the industry. And just from a branding perspective, like I can align with this. This is something I would wear every day. This is something I don't mind, telling people to wear. And it's a business model that I can understand. It's simple. It has recurring revenue baked into it. So it's just so many positives to this actual model that I was just like, this is something worth taking a chance on. Like, if I'm gonna get in the game, I like to get in the game with this
I love the brand too. When we were meeting up the last time, I was like, I need one of those hats, and I wear this honestly a lot.
one.
And people come up to me and like, that's a cool hat.
Yeah.
Like the hat alone, they just like, but the branding, I think just is clean, and
Yeah.
I don't know, there's something about it. And so when you're looking at Pinks, you said a couple of things that made it feel like the right fit out of the gate. Was there anything that made you pause at all when when you're doing your diligence on not just Pinks, but any of the franchise concepts you looked at? What were some of the things that made you go, I'm not sure, this is making me a little, skeptical, and you had to go do some more digging?
On the FDD in and of itself, I mean, you get this massive document, and it's pretty much outlining your relationship, with the franchisor. And I think like getting a understanding of the nature of that relationship is important too, because you could look at that, and because, you're licensing a brand, and, they're setting some kind of, rules, and there's a regulatory environment around how you operate. Nonetheless, you are more of a customer than an employee. And I think sometimes because of the nature of that, it feels like you're being hired, which to some extent, I mean, you are being awarded, like you get interviewed, they're selective in who they want to, license their brand out to, and who they want to be a part of their system. But nonetheless, like, you're paying a fee, like there's a more customer oriented nature to it. And that was something I didn't really understand at first. So it was very intimidating. And, just from, if you're used to kind of negotiating deals, like how you look at an FTD is very like one-sided to the franchisor to an extent. And so like it does, bring some discomfort if you've never looked at one before and you've never kind of executed a franchise agreement before. So that was one, like spending some time with, supporting the legal side that helped me kind of bridge some gaps. I'd say also just, I think pivoting from, I had this mindset of, oh, I'm going to go buy a business with existing revenue and I'm going to help grow and scale that. In this concept, there is no revenue. Like from day one, you have to figure out, how to go get the